John Abbott was the heart of the Abbott family. The father, the founder of Jabot, the steady, good-natured guy at the center of one of the Young and the Restless's most important families. And then, in 2006, Y&R killed him. Jerry Douglas was still alive. He was still available to work and still very deeply connected to the role. And yet, Y&R had John Abbott suffer a massive stroke, and he died on August 18th, 2006. That decision was shocking, to say the least. But what happened next made it even more baffling, because after Y&R killed John, they kept bringing him back as a ghost, as a vision, as a representation of Jack Abbott's conscience. He was still giving Jack advice from beyond the grave. He was still weighing in on all the important decisions in the Abbott family. So the question Y&R fans have been asking for years is, why did they kill off John Abbott if the Abbott family still needed him? John Abbott first appeared on The Young and the Restless in 1980, and Jerry Douglas took over the role in 1982. And from that moment forward, John Abbott became the center of the Abbott family saga. He was the founder of Jabot Cosmetics. He was the father of Jack and Ashley and Tracy and Billy, and even after Ashley learned that Brent Davis was her biological father, John remained her dad. He never knew. And John had plenty of soap opera drama. He was married to 3 different women, Dina, Jill, and Gloria. That last one is going to become important later. He had family fights and corporate battles and children making decisions that drove him absolutely crazy. But John was a stabilizing force. Jack could scheme, Ashley could dig in, Billy could spiral out, Tracy could try to keep the peace, but John was the person that they all came back to. He represented the family even when the family was fighting. So when Y&R pushed John Abbott into the center of a murder storyline in 2005, nobody could have guessed where it was headed. John Abbott's final story began with Tom Fisher. John and Gloria were married, and Tom Fisher was Gloria's abusive ex-husband, father of Kevin Fisher. And Tom was dangerous. He was blackmailing people. He had teamed up with Sheila Carter and terrorized Michael and Lauren. After Tom actually kidnapped Lauren and demanded money from Gloria in exchange for her safe return, John overheard that call and went to confront Tom himself while carrying a gun. Tom Fisher ended up dead. And at first, John couldn't clearly remember what happened. Ashley tried to take the blame, but John eventually remembered that he had shot Tom. He confessed, was convicted, and went to prison. The prison story got dark fast. John's health declined, his thinking became confused, and Jack actually took advantage of that confusion and convinced John to change his will against Gloria. But then there actually was one last possibility of escape. John was close to receiving a pardon. He could have been released. He could have come home. But instead, he suffered a massive stroke. That stroke left John in a vegetative state. He was unresponsive. He also had signed a do not resuscitate order, and his family honored it. So, on August 18th, 2006, John Abbott died. For anyone asking the question, how did John Abbott die on The Young and the Restless? It was a massive stroke while he was in prison. But the storyline explanation only answers how John died. It does nothing to explain why Y&R wanted him gone. This is the part that still makes The Young and the Restless fans ask, why did they kill off John Abbott on Y&R? Jerry Douglas was still working. He hadn't retired. He hadn't asked for John Abbott to be written off the show. And there was no health crisis or anything like that forcing the show to write around him. The decision came during the Lynn Marie Latham era. Jerry Douglas later said he felt Latham just did not understand why a man would be running a cosmetics company, which is an amazing concern to have at this point in the show when John Abbott had already been running Jabot for decades. Jabot was part of his identity. It was part of the Abbott family. It was part of Y&R itself. And yet John was removed without a very clear or satisfying explanation for what the show expected to gain by killing him. Peter Bergman later said that he thought killing John was a terrible idea because it forced the character of Jack into the position of taking over as the Abbott patriarch. And Beth Maitland, who plays Tracy, called John's death an enormous loss for the Abbott family. And Y&R seemed to realize that almost immediately because John Abbott didn't stay gone. Y&R killed John Abbott in 2006 and then spent years bringing him back whenever Jack needed him. John appeared as a ghost, a vision, a memory, a voice of reason. He gave Jack advice, questioned Jack's choices, and reminded Jack of the family values that John had represented while he was alive. And every appearance created the same fan reaction. It was wonderful to see Jerry Douglas. And so it made the decision to kill off the character even more confusing. Because they clearly still wanted John's presence on the show. They clearly still wanted his relationship with Jack. And then, in 2008, Y&R took it one step further. Jerry Douglas returned to Y&R as, wait for it, Alistair Wallingford, an actor who looked exactly like John Abbott. Yeah, okay, they killed John, then brought Jerry Douglas back to play a John Abbott lookalike. I mean, that is so soapy. But it also proves that the show kind of knew they made a mistake, and they had to keep inventing ways to bring Jerry Douglas back. Every way except letting John Abbott remain alive. After John was gone, the Abbott family really had to learn how to reorganize itself. Jack became the senior Abbott. Tracy was often the voice of compassion. Ashley carried on the family pride and the fight for Jabot, and Billy kind of remained the son who was still chasing approval and identity and direction. But they all carried pieces of John, yet none of them carried the whole thing. John had a gift for being able to challenge Jack without competing with him. He could support Ashley without turning everything into a power struggle. After his death, the Abbott family definitely still had love and closeness and history, and yet still a lot of drama, but the center had definitely shifted. The family became way more dependent on Jack's choices. And Jack Abbott is a lot of things, but stable ain't one of them. Jerry Douglas lived for another 15 years after John Abbott had died on screen. Jerry Douglas continued acting. He returned to Y&R multiple times, and he remained connected to the Abbott family right up until the end of his life. Jerry Douglas died on November 9th, 2021, at the age of 88 years old. He lived a really long and interesting life, and he brought so much joy into the lives of so many Y&R fans. His death wasn't attributed to any specific cause. It was just said that he had a brief illness. So the timelines are easy to separate here. John Abbott died in 2006. Jerry Douglas died in 2021. And during those 15 years, Y&R kept John's presence very much alive. The character was dead, but his influence never left the show. John Abbott's death was just as shocking to the Y&R fans as it was to the Abbott family itself. It changed the show in a very fundamental way. But there is one thing that never changed. Still, to this day, John Abbott is very much alive in the house, in the portraits, in the company that carries his legacy. Every time Jack wonders, what would my dad do in this situation? Every time Ashley thinks about the man who raised her, every time Tracy remembers some sweet little detail, and every time Billy wonders what kind of man he would have become if he had spent more time with his father or been more like him. So now I would love to hear your memories, Y&R fans. What do you remember the most about John Abbott? Is it his relationship with his children, the company that he created, his marriages, his death in 2006, or the years that he kept returning to guide the Abbott family from beyond the grave? Ooh, leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts.